tell if I want the sleeves to be...
You could go LL Cool J. One up, one down.
Yeah, I'm having an issue. I don't know if I want to...
Look up.
I like to pulse my chest before every episode.
Oh, God.
This is my other job here.
I just don't know what to do.
Welcome to the Exit Only Theater podcast. We are back for another weekly episode. I am Adrian Alderette, and I'm hosting the show, and I'm here with the lovely
JP Lee?
All right, and we're also here with Sean. And how you doing, Sean? Sean's wearing pants today, thank God. But also here we have our rogue camera person, Lady D, as we like to call her.
You gotta flip the camera around.
She didn't even want to explain why she's called Lady D, but that's totally cool.
No.
So we're gonna keep moving.
Little mystery.
So today's episode we're dedicating to the Deadpool movie, and as you know, the year of the comic book movies officially kicked off with Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. So off to a great start, obviously, based off our tone. The Merc with the Mouth is already on pace to break records for an R-rated movie, even though Fox wanted to scrap the project years ago. So, haha. So, all right, let's break the movie down. Did Deadpool bring that much-needed new flavor to the superhero genre?
I think overall, yes, of course. I mean, it's crazy to think that it took that long for... I mean, we saw Kick-Ass, but that didn't really capture like the overall essence of something like a Deadpool character.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that it took several failed attempts and essentially Ryan Reynolds maybe doing something illegal to get to get this going. I think they did a fantastic job. I think story-wise, maybe the plot was a little too conventional.
Yeah.
I mean, they played with the timeline format just enough to keep everyone interested, but it's an origin story, so there's going to be a certain formulaic nature to it, but comedy, action, I mean, they hit it right on the head, I think.
It was such a, like, I remember speaking with Sean about it after the movie, and it wasn't like such a jarring, different kind of thing that we've never seen before.
Right.
It's like, but based off adaptation of the character itself, it was perfect. I've never read a Deadpool comic. Sean, like, you're the Deadpool guy. And for me, Sean is
Just leaving props
awkward.
around. Just leaving props.
Sean's the Deadpool guy, and after the movie, he said that was literally like ripping a page out of the comic and just putting it on screen. And they nailed it. And for them to do that with a character that's that entertaining is awesome. It's so much fun.
I have a question for Sean, and I don't mean to put him on the spot, but it's just a comic book. Like, it's a question for someone who's read at least some of the comics, I guess. I've heard some of the criticism of the movie is that they don't explain exactly how he got his power in an accurate way. What the?
I was just trying to light myself.
He's giving himself a
great
strobe effect. I don't know. Was there anything about the details of his origin story that were inaccurate to you, or some people like who watched I think the cartoon didn't like some of the details versus the people who read original comics? Like, there's a little bit of an argument online about that. Like, did you like the way that they sort of progressed the origin story in the film?
I actually liked all of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was smooth, and it's good for like people that aren't familiar with it, and it kind of kept the movie flowing. So I just liked how they did it. I liked it a lot.
Like kind of a
like they caught the essence of the character.
Yeah,
it didn't have to be a specific storyline or anything
how they're
like
going
that.
to show like his healing factor, because like it's by far stronger than like anyone's healing factor in like the universe,
Including Wolverine's.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
interesting
true.
to see how they're going to do that. And I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, like, as far as like as in the scope of all the superhero genre right now, that it's refreshing because you watch a movie like this. Now you could go out and see a Marvel Studios movie, let's say like Ant-Man or like Iron Man or even an Avengers movie, and say, oh, okay, like now that I had this, I could go back to this and still enjoy that, rather than just saying, okay, this is all I have. So it's that variety. That's what we're excited about as comic book fans, is that having that variety to say, hey man, I'm gonna go watch Deadpool. It's like, man, I'm in the mood for something like a little bit more watered down. I'm gonna watch Ant-Man, or I'm really depressed. I want to watch Man of Steel.
Yeah, you get like a third category. You get the brooding, you get the comedic, and then you get the over the top.
Whatever. Man of Steel, man. Screw you. At least it's
Okay.
That's just going to be a weekly problem between these two.
Yeah. Okay, but speaking of the character, like, do you think this based off what you this movie, do you think this character has the legs to have its own franchise, kind of like what Guardians of the Galaxy is planning.
I would say that the film itself works because of Ryan Reynolds. So I think that if Ryan Reynolds continues to portray this character, it will succeed. If you took him out of any scene that he was in this film, it would have been lesser. I feel like every other character played off of him so well, in the same sense that Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark. I mean, he is Wade to a certain extent. So I think that it can, as long as Ryan Reynolds stays committed and invested in for however many films and spin-offs they commit to doing. So it has to start to and end with Ryan Reynolds.
It has legs, but I am kind of interested in seeing like how you go style-wise forward, because this first movie was funny. It was great. It was raunchy, but like it was kind of like that. Like when you watch that for the first time, it's like, oh, that's great. But then the second time, you're like, all right, we saw that the last time. It's not surprising, or it's not fresh anymore.
I agree to a certain extent, but I think the limitations of when an origin story does, the shoebox you have to fit yourself into a certain extent, is what limits this film. I think if they were to continue and explore other plot points and other storylines from the comics, I think they can go anywhere with it, and I think that's where they kind of open the Pandora's box, and it could get really interesting.
Yeah. And that leads to my next question, because spoiler, if you haven't seen it, there is a post-credit scene, so you have 5
It's one
seconds.
of my favorites, actually.
All right, now we're gonna do the spoiler. Okay, so the spoiler is that at the post-credit scene, Deadpool comes out and he says there is gonna be a sequel. Like literally, he just comes out and says, "Yeah, there's gonna be a sequel."
Yeah.
And Cable's gonna be in it. And for X-Men fans, that's a huge deal because Cable's such a badass character.
And the audience was very excited about it.
Yeah, it's really cool. So, my question to you is, we're gonna see Cable, the character Cable, in the sequel. Aside from that, what would you what would you want to see in the sequel with Cable, or just in general with the Deadpool?
I think I know obviously there were constraints with budget and how many of the X-Men characters they could get involved within this project.
Yeah.
If they're able to go, wide open with where these characters are going, it would be an awesome opportunity for the next Deadpool movie to have the recast of Wolverine.
That would be pretty cool.
So you could kind of see them play off of each other with this new character. So Ryan Reynolds can kind of sort of legitimize who the new actor may be, which I think could be really fun to sort of reset that angle. If they can work it into the plot, I wouldn't want it to just be like random, but.
And that's honestly, like from a fan perspective, that'd be the smoothest way to go about it, because recasting Hugh Jackman is going to be hard for all the fans.
Been like 14 of the films.
Yeah. Sorry, I just choked.
You have water if you need it.
The Adam's apple thing again.
Good
But
Lord.
it was smoothing it out because one, you're in the universe of another character.
Yeah.
It's like, look, it's okay. It's Ryan Reynolds. It's Deadpool. Okay, that's the Wolverine for that universe now.
Yeah,
Because if you look at the slate that they have going forward, they're really hoping that Deadpool and Gambit are the standalone movies that kind of like be the Iron Man and the Captain Americas for the X-Men franchise.
They're banking on them for sure.
So as far as what I want to see in the sequel, I would like to see the comedy evolve to be, and to kind of be like, since Cable's going to be in it, I want it to be kind of like a Lethal Weapon kind of duo comedy kind of thing, like a buddy cop kind of thing, because Cable in the comics is this really serious character. He's the son of Jean Grey and Cyclops, and he travels through time to catch Apocalypse because he wants to eliminate him because he's like this super ultra being, and hopefully there is a tie-in to the X-Men Apocalypse movie that comes out in May.
That would be awesome.
But if it doesn't, regardless, I think having like Ryan Reynolds be like that Chris Tucker and that is a hard one, but like Jackie Chan, like style thing for Cable. Go back to your Lethal
Weapon.
Let's go back to Lethal Weapon, where you got Riggs
better.
and Mertz all kind of dynamic.
Yeah,
we have the crazy guy, and then you have I'm too old for this shit.
I'm glad you say that, because there's an amount of crazy that works really well with Deadpool's character that I think if you have the straight man working off of it is I think the only thing that was really missing from this movie.
Yeah, that's totally right. So I'm excited. It was a good start to the year of the superhero that everybody's calling it right now. The next one for comic book movie fans obviously is the big one, Batman v Superman. So we'll see how that goes, but we're off to a good start. My overall sum up of the film: go see it. It's awesome. You're gonna have a lot of fun. Take your 9-year-old kid, like the one that we saw over there, and then we saw a 9-year-old kid watch this movie.
I'm gonna say don't take your 9-year-old. Wait till they're like 12 or 13, maybe. I don't know. I saw Die Hard when I was 9. That affected me, but it's also one of my favorite movies now. So I don't know what to say about that. But there are so many great moments in this film. Just not without.
Oh,
I don't want to
man.
give too many spoilers, but there's a baby hand that's hysterical.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot
yes.
of limbs jokes that work really well.
Yeah.
T-Rex hand. There's just
There's a
just
sequence.
really good moments.
There's a sequence where Deadpool is really upset at Colossus, and he just starts trying to beat him up, but like all he keeps doing
Can't.
is hurting himself. And there's just this one line that he's just like, he breaks both of his wrists, and he's just like, well, everybody fears the T-Rex, and everybody lost it in the theater. It was so much fun. Like
He
it was
so
one of those movies.
self-destructive, but he was
Yeah.
so good.
It's great. Do you guys want to add anything, Sean, Daisy, about Deadpool or the future of Deadpool?
I don't like being put in the spot. I hope there's more crossover between the X-Men. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. If they're going to recast Wolverine, it'd be fun to do it with Deadpool because he would probably make fun of it and call it directly out.
Oh yeah, you're like, you look nothing like
Casting
Hugh.
him.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
actually think that would bring light to the situation and make it easier.
That's some of the
Yeah.
funny moments within this film is when he's saying he's gonna see Professor Xavier, and he's like McAvoy or Stewart, and you're like, oh my god! Like, there's
was-
just so many good moments.
That's so great. Yeah.
Like that, all right?
It's Daisy's first appearance.
Oh hey,
Now, do I look into this?
heck yeah!
That's what. Oh my
Speak to
god.
speak to your audience.
There's so many
Speak
jokes.
to your audience.
Oh my god.
She's nervous.
She's also in like complete darkness too, so this might not even make the final
I
cut.
just look sketchy.
I just had fun watching it. Like,
Yeah, for
it
sure.
was just an experience overall, like a good one. And I'm definitely watching it more than once.
Oh, nice.
Ryan
Sweet.
Reynolds was way.
That's enough of that. All right, cool. So that was this mini capsule episode of Exit Only Theater Podcast. As always, I'm Adrian Alderette.
And I'm JP Lee, and we'll see you when the credits roll.